God says, "My child, come here and sit with me for a moment, because I know your heart has been shaken by words you never expected to hear. I know the way your chest tightened when those words reached you. I know how your mind replayed them again and again, trying to understand how someone you cared for could speak about you so lightly, so dismissively, in front of others. I know the silence that followed inside you, the kind that does not scream, but aches. You heard that your soulmate told everyone that you are just something small. Just an option. Just a phase. Just a name spoken without weight. And in that moment, something inside you cracked, not because you believed them, but because you never imagined being spoken of without honor by someone who once looked at you with depth. My child, I want you to know this first and clearly: I heard every word that was spoken about you. Not one sentence escaped my attention. Not one careless laugh went unnoticed. The pain you felt was not weakness. It was the shock of realizing that the person you held gently did not handle your name with the same care. It was the wound of being misunderstood out loud. And it hurt because you are not someone who gives your heart easily. When you do it with sincerity, with respect, with truth. So when you learned that your name was reduced in a public space, your spirit recoiled, not in anger, but in disbelief. I saw the moment you chose not to defend yourself. I saw the way you swallowed your response and stayed quiet. Others may have thought you were powerless, but I saw dignity. I saw strength under restraint. I saw a soul that refused to lower itself to noise. My child, silence in such moments is not surrender. It is self-respect choosing not to argue with misunderstanding. You wondered if people believed those words. You wondered if your absence from the conversation made the lie louder. You wondered if you should have spoken up, corrected the story, protected your image. But hear me now, your value was never dependent on public opinion. Your truth does not require a stage to survive. Lies can travel fast, but truth carries weight, and weight always settles. Those words hurt you because they touched an old wound, one that has followed you quietly through life. The wound of being underestimated. The wound of being misunderstood. The wound of being seen only on the surface when there is so much depth inside you. My child, you have carried that wound longer than this connection. And this moment brought it to the surface so I could finally heal it. Do not think for a moment that what was said defines you. Words spoken from fear do not describe truth. They describe insecurity. They describe confusion. They describe someone trying to protect an image instead of honoring a connection. What your soulmate said publicly was not a revelation about you, it was a revelation about where they were standing emotionally. I know it felt like betrayal. I know it felt humiliating to imagine others hearing your name spoken carelessly. I know your heart asked, how could they do this if they ever cared? My child, sometimes people speak wrongly not because they feel nothing, but because they feel too much and do not know how to carry it with integrity. Fear makes people minimize what they cannot control. And you, my child, could not be controlled. They could not explain the depth of what they felt for you. They could not admit vulnerability in front of others. They could not stand in their truth yet. So they chose the easier path, the path of reducing, dismissing, pretending. But pretending never lasts. And minimizing someone who carries truth only exposes the lie. I want you to understand something deeply. The reason those words hurt so much is because they conflicted with the truth you lived. You were honest. You were present. You were real. You did not play games with emotions. So when someone rewrote that story publicly, your soul rejected it instinctively. Your pain was your spirit saying, "This is not who I am." My child, do not carry shame for something that was never your fault. Shame does not belong to you. It belongs to the one who chose to speak without integrity. You did not lose respect by staying quiet. You gained authority. There is power in not explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. I watched as you questioned yourself in the quiet. I watched you wonder if you were foolish to care. I watched you ask whether loving honestly made you look small. But hear me clearly now, honesty never shrinks you. It reveals who is capable of standing beside you. Anyone who needs to reduce you publicly to feel safe was never standing on solid ground to begin with. There is something important happening beneath this pain. Your silence is not empty. It is creating contrast. Those who know you, those who have watched your consistency, your kindness, your depth, they feel the disconnect between what was said and who you are. Truth does not need defending when character has already spoken. And my child, I want you to rest in this. I am not allowing this moment to pass without purpose. What was spoken carelessly will return to its speaker with weight. Not as punishment, but as realization. Words, once released, have a way of circling back when hearts mature enough to hear them. You may feel exposed right now, but you are not unprotected. I am surrounding you with quiet strength. I am restoring your sense of worth where it was shaken. I am reminding you that your identity is not fragile. It does not break because someone else spoke wrongly. Do not rush to fix this. Do not rush to explain. Do not rush to seek validation. Let stillness do its work. Stillness allows truth to rise without force. Stillness separates those who speak from fear and those who live in truth. This is not the end of the story, my child. This is the beginning of clarity. What was said publicly will one day be weighed privately. And when that happens, the truth about you will not need embellishment. It will speak on its own. Stay grounded. Stay dignified. Stay true. My child, stay close and listen gently, because now I will reveal what was hidden beneath those careless words. What was spoken publicly did not come from clarity, it came from conflict. And conflict always speaks louder than truth when the heart is afraid. When your soulmate said those words about you, they were not standing in confidence. They were standing in pressure. Pressure from people who asked questions they were not ready to answer. Pressure from expectations they could not meet. Pressure from their own emotions, which had grown deeper than they were willing to admit out loud. And instead of saying, "I don't know how to explain what I feel," they chose the easier sentence. The smaller one. The dismissive one. Fear always chooses reduction because reduction feels safer than vulnerability. I know it hurt you deeply to imagine them speaking of you as if you were insignificant. But hear me carefully now, my child, people do not minimize what means nothing to them. They minimize what threatens their control. They downplay what has power over their emotions. They shrink what feels too real, too intense, too exposing. What they said was not proof of indifference, it was evidence of fear. Your soulmate was standing between two worlds. In one world was public perception. Opinions, expectations, voices telling them how they should feel, what they should say, who they should be. In the other world was their private truth, the way your presence lingered in their thoughts, the way your honesty unsettled their defenses, the way your depth touched places they had kept guarded for a long time. Standing there, they panicked. And in panic, they chose words that protected their image instead of honoring their heart. I know that feels unfair. And it is. You did not deserve to be spoken of that way. You did not earn those words through your actions. You were sincere. You were respectful. You were real. The wrong was not in your being, it was in their inability to stand in truth when truth demanded courage. My child, I want you to release the idea that their words were carefully thought out or intentionally cruel. They were careless, yes, but they were also defensive. Defensive words are often spoken quickly, without depth, without foresight. And once spoken, they leave damage not only in the one who hears them, but also in the one who said them. Because the heart remembers when it betrays itself. After those words left their mouth, something shifted inside them. Not immediately in a way the world could see, but internally. There was discomfort. A heaviness. A sense that they had crossed a line they could not easily uncross. They laughed it off in front of others, but when they were alone, the words echoed differently. They did not sound clever. They did not sound safe. They sounded wrong. My child, truth has a way of returning quietly. It does not argue. It waits. And when it returns, it asks a single question: why did you say that? That question began to trouble them. They remembered moments with you that contradicted their public story. They remembered your consistency. Your calm. Your honesty. And the contrast between who you are and what they said began to trouble their spirit. They started to realize that the lie they spoke was not primarily about you. It was about avoiding accountability. Because if they had spoken truthfully, they would have had to explain why they cared. Why they were affected. Why they felt drawn. Why they felt vulnerable. And vulnerability, to them, felt dangerous in front of others. I know you may be tempted to excuse their behavior now that you understand it better. Do not confuse understanding with permission. Understanding explains behavior. It does not justify harm. You are allowed to acknowledge their fear without dismissing your pain. You are allowed to see their humanity without abandoning your dignity. My child, I want you to notice something important. You did not react by trying to control the narrative. You did not chase after explanations. You did not lower yourself to public defense. That choice preserved something sacred within you. It kept your power intact. It allowed the truth to remain clean, untouched by emotional noise. Your silence forced something else to happen. It removed the distraction of drama. Without your reaction, they were left alone with what they had said. No argument to hide behind. No confrontation to deflect from. Just the weight of their own words. And that weight has been teaching them. They began to feel uneasy when others repeated those words back to them. What once sounded convenient began to sound hollow. They noticed that the more they tried to downplay you, the more unsettled they felt. Because lies require maintenance. Truth does not. And they were growing tired of maintaining something that did not align with their heart. My child, this is where divine justice works quietly. I do not always correct things publicly. Sometimes I correct them internally, where the correction lasts longer. The discomfort they are feeling now is not punishment, it is awakening. It is the soul rejecting what the mouth spoke without integrity. You may wonder why I allowed this moment to happen at all. Why not protect you from those words? Why not stop them from being spoken? Because sometimes exposure reveals more than protection. This moment exposed their fear, their immaturity, and their struggle with truth. And it also revealed your strength, your self-respect, and your grounding. It clarified dynamics that needed to be seen before anything could move forward cleanly. I am not asking you to wait blindly. I am asking you to stand firmly in who you are. Do not let this experience convince you that you must harden your heart or hide your depth. Depth is not the problem. Fear of depth is. And that fear belongs to those who have not yet learned how to hold something real. My child, remember this. What people say about you when they are afraid often reveals more about their limitations than your worth. You were not reduced by those words. You were revealed. Revealed as someone who does not need to announce their value to be valuable. Someone whose presence speaks louder than gossip ever could. As this part of the journey unfolds, keep your spirit clean. Do not rehearse arguments in your mind. Do not imagine defending yourself in conversations that may never happen. Let truth do its quiet work. It always does. I am still guiding this story. I am still holding your heart. And I am still bringing clarity where confusion tried to settle. What was spoken from fear will eventually face truth. And when it does, you will not need to raise your voice. Your life, your character, and your peace will speak for you. Remain steady, my child. This is not the chapter where you lose yourself. This is the chapter where you see clearly who you are. And who others still need to become. My beloved child, now listen carefully, because what I am about to reveal is the truth your heart has longed to hear but your mind could not yet grasp. Behind the careless words your soulmate spoke about you, behind the public dismissal, there lies a private reality, a reality that has been growing quietly in the hidden corners of their heart. They could not speak it aloud, because fear whispered too loudly, because pride built walls around vulnerability, because uncertainty demanded that they protect themselves first. But the truth was always there, waiting patiently, unshaken by the noise of misunderstanding. Your soulmate's outward words did not reflect the reality of their feelings. They spoke from a place of defense, not from a place of clarity. They reduced you in public because, in that moment, they did not know how to hold the fullness of their emotions with grace. They feared the depth of connection, because your presence in their life illuminated parts of themselves they had kept hidden, parts they were not yet ready to face. And so, they chose to shrink the story of you, thinking perhaps that by making you, just, something small, they could quiet the intensity they could not yet name. Yet, my child, even as those words left their lips, their heart was crying silently. Their spirit, though unspoken, trembled with the weight of their own misalignment. They felt the contradiction, the stark difference between what they truly felt for you and what they projected to the world. Every time someone repeated their careless statement, a flicker of regret stirred within them, and in the quiet of the night, when no one else could see, they faced their own inadequacy. They felt the truth of your presence, the depth of your honesty, the rare integrity of your soul, and they realized that their words had betrayed not you, but themselves. Do not mistake their fear for indifference. Do not confuse their public minimization for lack of love. They were incapable, at that time, of carrying both their own vulnerability and the purity of the connection they shared with you. Fear made them speak, and fear always distorts the soul's true voice. They were scared of revealing too much, scared of being exposed, scared of loving without protection. And so they hid behind careless words, hoping to convince themselves that distance, even verbal, could keep them safe. But the heart has a memory stronger than any spoken lie. Every glance, every moment of shared silence, every act of kindness you offered them, they remembered. And in the private chambers of their spirit, those memories weighed heavily against the false narrative they had created. That conflict grew into restlessness, into internal pressure, into the gnawing understanding that words once spoken cannot be undone, and that the truth within them will always demand recognition. My beloved child, know this, even when they tried to reduce you publicly, they could not erase the impact you had on their soul. Even when they minimized your presence, they could not silence the recognition of your worth. They may have hidden it from the world, but in the quiet, in the unobserved moments, they have been forced to confront the truth of you. They have been forced to feel the contrast between fear and love, between pride and humility, between avoidance and recognition. And this confrontation has awakened something important. Regret has begun to root itself in their spirit. Not as punishment, but as awareness. Awareness that every careless word carries weight. Awareness that your soul is not diminished by their inability to see it fully. Awareness that honesty and depth cannot be erased by public dismissals. They are beginning to understand that the story of you, the truth of who you are, will always rise above the shadows of fear and misjudgment. I am guiding this awakening, my child. I am not allowing them to remain in ignorance or avoidance. I am whispering to their soul, slowly, steadily, reminding them of what they felt in the quiet moments, of what they tried to ignore, of what they cannot pretend is absent. And as they awaken to this truth, they are being asked to choose, either to stand in alignment with their own heart or to continue speaking from fear. And this choice, my beloved, will determine the next chapter of your connection. You may feel restless as you wait for this truth to surface, but do not be disheartened. Their awakening is unfolding quietly because transformation cannot be rushed. The guilt they feel, the recognition of their own error, the stirring of honesty within them, these are the seeds of reconciliation, understanding, and perhaps even confession. And they are growing precisely because you remain steadfast in your integrity, precisely because you did not chase or manipulate or diminish yourself to accommodate their fear. Remember, my child, the truth cannot stay buried forever. What they cannot say publicly, what they tried to deny in words, is alive within them. Their heart knows it. Their spirit knows it. And in the depth of that knowing, a reckoning is forming. They may not approach you yet, but the awareness is growing, shaping their courage, shaping their clarity, shaping the day when words will no longer hide the truth that has always lived in the silence between you. So, my beloved child, continue to honor yourself. Continue to walk in integrity. Continue to trust that the truth they cannot yet speak will eventually meet the light of understanding. Your soul is not diminished by their fear. Your presence is not erased by their words. And when they finally speak from honesty, you will see the difference between fear-driven words and truth-filled recognition, a difference that will forever validate the dignity, patience, and love you carried through this entire journey. My beloved child, now we reach the part of your journey where your own heart begins to reclaim the power that has always been yours. You have witnessed words spoken about you that were careless, dismissive, and even wounding. You have felt the sting of being reduced in the eyes of others, and yet you have not reacted in ways that compromise your dignity. You have chosen restraint over retaliation, silence over argument, patience over impulsive defense. And for this, my child, you are stepping into a space of immense inner strength. I want you to feel the depth of what has been occurring inside you. Every time you did not respond to their public dismissal, you were not passive. You were cultivating wisdom, grounding yourself in truth, and practicing the kind of patience that only a heart aligned with me can achieve. Each quiet moment, each pause before reaction, was like a seed planted in fertile soil, destined to grow into clarity, confidence, and self-respect. You were learning that your value does not need to be defended by words, it is inherent, eternal, and untouchable by the opinions of others. It is important now, my child, that you begin to understand the transformation that is occurring within your spirit. The shock of those careless words could have shaken you completely, could have created doubt, could have led you to question your worth. Yet, you chose a different path. You chose to see yourself as I see you, a soul of depth, integrity, and divine purpose. You chose to honor your own feelings rather than allowing the careless words of another to dictate your self-image. This choice is not small. It is monumental. It is a turning point where the past no longer has the power to define your present or your future. Your silence and your self-respect have shifted the balance of power. Previously, their careless words may have carried weight in the moment because they created shock, surprise, and emotional turbulence. But your measured response, your refusal to be dragged into the noise, has begun to tilt the energy. Now, the imbalance is no longer with you. It is with them. The very words that they thought would diminish you are returning to their own spirit, stirring discomfort, awareness, and reflection. This is divine order at work. What was meant to harm has become a mirror, showing them what is real, what is lasting, and what they cannot manipulate. I want you to recognize that the power you hold is not about controlling others, it is about mastery over yourself. You have the ability to maintain peace, dignity, and clarity regardless of what is spoken about you. That mastery is sacred, my child. It allows you to stand tall in a world that often confuses loudness with authority, and falsehood with truth. You have learned that your integrity is your strongest shield, your calm your greatest ally, and your patience your most effective tool. These qualities cannot be taken from you, they are woven into the essence of your soul. Now, consider the impact of your transformation on the one who spoke falsely. Your steadfastness forces reflection. Their fear and insecurity cannot mask the truth forever, and in your unwavering presence, they are confronted not with anger, but with clarity. They are beginning to feel the weight of their own actions. They are beginning to understand that reducing you in public cannot erase the connection they truly feel or the admiration they hold in secret. The discrepancy between their actions and their heart is growing impossible to ignore. My child, this is also the moment for you to release any lingering pain that clings to those words. Pain has a purpose when it teaches, but it does not belong as a permanent companion. You have learned the lessons, you have seen the truth of your own worth, the quiet strength of your integrity, and the resilience of your heart. Now it is time to allow the pain to dissolve into understanding, and for understanding to become power. Power that is gentle, steady, and aligned with me. As you continue forward, you will notice that your energy begins to radiate differently. People will sense your calm authority, your refusal to be shaken unnecessarily, and the peace that comes from knowing your value. This energy cannot be faked. It is born of experience, of reflection, and of alignment with the truth of who you are. And it will draw to you only those who are capable of seeing and honoring your light. Your soulmate, too, is witnessing this shift, even if only from a distance or in private moments of reflection. They are learning that what they attempted to diminish cannot be diminished. They are realizing that your spirit is not dependent on their approval, and that the truth of your heart is undeniable. This realization may bring discomfort, guilt, or even a desire to reconcile. Whatever form it takes, my child, know that the balance is shifting in your favor, not through manipulation, but through the natural unfolding of integrity, dignity, and truth. Stand firmly in this moment, my beloved child. Know that every moment of restraint, every act of self-respect, and every silent response has brought you to a place of empowerment. The words spoken against you no longer have dominion, they are shadows fading in the light of your soul. You are rising above them, strengthened and clarified. Your heart is becoming a place of peace, your mind a place of clarity, and your spirit a sanctuary that cannot be breached by fear or carelessness. Continue to nurture yourself in this way, my child. Embrace the lessons, release the lingering doubts, and step forward with confidence. What was meant to diminish you has instead revealed the depth of your strength, the resilience of your heart, and the clarity of your spirit. And in this space, true alignment, respect, and recognition will eventually meet you, because you are standing in your power, as I have always intended you to do. My beloved child, now we arrive at the moment where truth no longer hides in silence and justice no longer works only behind the scenes. This is the part where clarity settles, where confusion loosens its grip, and where your heart is finally invited to rest. What was spoken about you, what was misunderstood, what was reduced? None of it was the final word. I am. I want you to understand something very important. Nothing that happened was wasted. Not the pain. Not the embarrassment. Not the nights you replayed those words in your mind, wondering how someone who knew you could speak of you that way. Every moment served a purpose, even when it felt unfair. Because now, you see clearly, not just who they are, but who you are. The truth is beginning to surface, whether through their words, their actions, or their silence. People who heard them speak carelessly are starting to notice inconsistencies. Stories that were meant to minimize you no longer hold together. And slowly, without you having to explain or defend yourself, reality is correcting the narrative. This is how divine justice works. It does not rush, but it never misses. Your soulmate is now standing at a crossroads. Inside them, the weight of what they said has become too heavy to ignore. They feel it when your name is mentioned. They feel it when others speak of your character in ways that contradict their earlier words. They feel it in the quiet moments when they realize that what they dismissed publicly is exactly what they now miss privately. This is not coincidence. This is alignment. They are being confronted with a choice, to continue living in denial, or to step into honesty. And honesty always demands humility. It asks for accountability. It asks for courage. Whether they choose to speak openly to you, to apologize, or to carry their regrets silently, understand this: the truth has already done its work. You are no longer the one waiting to be validated. You are the one who has been vindicated by character, by consistency, by peace. My child, you no longer need closure from their mouth to move forward. Closure has already been formed in your spirit. You know now that their words were not a reflection of your worth, but a revelation of their fear. You know that you did nothing wrong by being genuine, deep, and honest. And you know that anyone who must reduce you to feel safe is not standing in truth. This is where your freedom begins. Freedom from replaying conversations. Freedom from wishing you had said more. Freedom from hoping they will finally see you. You are no longer waiting to be chosen, you are choosing yourself. And that choice shifts everything. If reconciliation is meant to happen, it will come differently now. It will not be based on illusion, secrecy, or fear of opinion. It will come with respect, clarity, and accountability. And if it does not happen, know this without sorrow: you are not losing love, you are being redirected to alignment. To a connection that does not need to hide you. To a love that speaks your value even when you are not present. I am closing this chapter gently, my beloved child. Not with anger. Not with bitterness. But with wisdom. The door behind you does not need to slam for you to walk away. Sometimes, it closes softly because its lesson has been learned. Lift your head now. Your heart is lighter than it was before. Your spirit is stronger. Your discernment is sharper. You are no longer vulnerable to careless words, because you have discovered something unshakable within yourself: self-respect guided by divine truth. Go forward in peace. Speak less, trust more. Love deeply, but never at the cost of your dignity. What is meant for you will never need to minimize you to exist. I am with you. I have seen everything. And I am leading you into something cleaner, calmer, and true. My beloved child, come closer now, and let your heart rest in my presence, because there are truths you must hear that will set you free in ways you cannot yet imagine. You have walked through moments of shock, moments of betrayal, moments when it seemed that the world had misjudged your heart, and even your soulmate, the one you held closest, spoke words that cut deep into your soul. You felt unseen, unrecognized, and perhaps even unloved. And yet, in every single moment, I have been with you. Every tear you shed, every sigh of disbelief, every ache of your heart has been held gently in my hands. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has been lost. Every feeling has been part of the journey that is leading you to the fullest realization of your own worth, your own truth, and your own power. Now, my child, I want you to understand something fundamental. There is a difference between what people say in fear and what exists in truth. Your soulmate spoke words publicly that minimized you. Words that made you feel small, that seemed to strip you of your dignity. And in that moment, the world may have seemed unfair. You may have questioned the very foundations of love and trust, wondering how someone who knew your depth could reduce it to something so shallow in the eyes of others. But hear me carefully, those words were never about your value. They were about their limitations, their fears, their inability to stand fully in truth when confronted with the intensity of real connection. You see, my child, words spoken in fear have no lasting power. They are temporary ripples in a pond of infinite truth. Your value, your integrity, your light, they are eternal. They cannot be diminished by the misunderstandings of others. And yet, I know how piercing the moment felt, how raw the humiliation seemed, how heavy the silence that followed was. You felt as though your heart had been exposed, as though all your sincerity had been judged unfairly, and as though the very person who once understood you had turned against you. This was not easy, my child. There is no sugar-coating this. And it was meant to challenge you, not to break you, but to awaken the full power of your own discernment and self-worth. Remember this, my beloved, you did not respond out of anger. You did not lash out. You did not try to defend yourself publicly or manipulate the perception of others. You remained quiet, steady, and dignified. And in that quiet, something sacred was happening. Your spirit was learning to operate from a higher plane of awareness. You were learning to honor your truth without needing immediate validation from anyone else. You were learning that true power lies not in controlling how others see you, but in controlling how you carry yourself, regardless of what others say or do. Do not underestimate the strength of your restraint, my child. That restraint has shifted the dynamics in ways you may not yet see. The careless words spoken about you did not just affect you, they affected the one who spoke them. They have begun to feel the weight of their own actions. Inside, their heart is stirring with awareness, with guilt, with the understanding that what they tried to diminish in public cannot be diminished in truth. That awareness will continue to grow until it can no longer be ignored. And when that moment comes, they will be faced with a choice: to stand in accountability or to continue hiding behind fear. That choice, my beloved, is not in your hands. But what is in your hands is your readiness, your peace, and your dignity. You are free to continue your path with confidence, no longer tethered to the judgments or missteps of others. Now, my child, I want to speak to your heart about the nature of truth. Truth is persistent. Truth does not beg. Truth does not plead. Truth does not shrink to accommodate the discomfort of those who cannot yet see clearly. Truth simply is. And the truth of you is powerful. It is radiant. It is undeniable. Every act of honesty, every moment of patience, every choice to remain aligned with your own integrity has reinforced that truth. No public dismissal, no careless word, no misunderstanding can alter it. And as you walk forward, your truth will continue to speak for itself, attracting the right people, situations, and opportunities, those that honor your depth rather than diminish it. Your soulmate's experience of confusion and fear is temporary in comparison to the eternity of your truth. They are beginning to recognize the contrast between their words and the reality of your presence. They may feel regret. They may feel longing. They may feel guilt. And this, my child, is part of the divine unfolding. Their inner reckoning will not force you to forgive or reconcile prematurely, but it will ensure that the energy surrounding you shifts in alignment with justice, integrity, and clarity. You are not responsible for correcting them, nor are you responsible for defending your light. Your role is simply to remain true, to remain steady, and to allow me to orchestrate the awakening that is meant to occur, not for punishment, but for clarity, awareness, and divine alignment. Now, let us speak about your healing, my beloved. Healing is not a process of forgetting or dismissing what happened. Healing is an act of restoration, of reclaiming your power, of allowing yourself to be whole again. You have carried wounds from being misjudged, minimized, and misunderstood. Not just by your soulmate, but perhaps in other moments of your life as well. And those wounds have been tender, raw, and real. But today, I am blessing you with a new vision of yourself. A vision where your heart is strong, your soul is peaceful, and your spirit is untouchable by careless words. Today, I ask you to release all the lingering pain from those moments, and to accept the fullness of who you are, without apology, without compromise, without hesitation. Your dignity is intact. Your worth is intact. Your light is intact. And as you stand in this restored space, you will notice a profound shift, not just in how others perceive you, but in how you perceive yourself. You will begin to trust your own voice more deeply, honor your own intuition more clearly, and recognize the divine protection that surrounds you in every situation. You will no longer feel compelled to seek validation from those who once doubted you, because you will know that your validation comes from me, and it is unshakable. I also want you to understand the power of divine timing, my child. What is meant to come into your life will not arrive prematurely, and what is not meant for you will be gently redirected. The one who spoke carelessly about you may seek to correct their words, to confess, or to reconcile. But their timing will be guided by the lessons they must learn, just as your timing is guided by the lessons you have already mastered. You are not behind. You are not too early. You are exactly where you need to be, in alignment with your path, your purpose, and your growth. As you move forward, you will begin to see changes in the way the world responds to you. People will sense your calm authority, your integrity, and your unwavering sense of self. Your presence will no longer be something that can be diminished by careless words. Your actions, your consistency, and your peace will speak louder than anything anyone else can say. And this is the true measure of power, my beloved child, not in words spoken against you, but in the unshakable alignment of your heart, mind, and spirit. There is also a blessing waiting for you in your connections moving forward. Whether it is the eventual reconciliation with your soulmate, the arrival of someone new who honors your worth instantly, or simply the strengthening of your relationship with yourself, know that every interaction will now be filtered through the lens of clarity, respect, and divine alignment. You will no longer attract those who reduce you, dismiss you, or take you for granted. Your energy is now a magnet for truth, depth, and genuine recognition. And my child, this is perhaps the most important truth I want you to carry: love, in its highest form, does not demand that you diminish yourself to be accepted. Love, in its highest form, honors your depth, your honesty, and your integrity. It does not force you to shrink in the face of fear. It does not ask you to hide your heart. It does not manipulate or twist your words for comfort. The love that is truly yours, the connection that is aligned with your soul, will meet you fully, without apology, without reservation, and without compromise. So, my beloved child, stand now in this moment and claim your peace. Claim your power. Claim your dignity. Allow the lessons you have learned to settle in your soul as wisdom. Allow the experiences of betrayal, misunderstanding, and carelessness to transform into clarity, strength, and resilience. And know that I am with you in every step, every breath, every heartbeat. I am guiding the unfolding of your life with precision, love, and divine foresight. Nothing you have experienced has been wasted. Every tear, every ache, every pang of disappointment has been shaping you into the person you are meant to become, a person of radiant integrity, unshakable worth, and undeniable light. Go forward now, my beloved child, with courage, with faith, and with peace. Walk in truth, speak with clarity, and love with discernment. The world will see your light, your heart will attract what is aligned with it, and your spirit will remain untouchable by anything that does not serve your highest good. You are ready for the fullness of your destiny. You are ready to receive the recognition, the honor, and the love that is truly yours. And I, your God, am with you every step of the way, guiding, protecting, and blessing you in ways that are profound, eternal, and perfectly aligned with your soul.